starting a business, growing your business while you're a mom is tough work, but you can do it and you can thrive at it. And you need to build the right network and get the right support in place.
Right.
And
100%.
and you can do whatever it is you want to do. You can build the life that you want to live.
Welcome to the Good Enough Mompreneur Podcast, the show that celebrates the extraordinary women who master the art of juggling, motherhood, and entrepreneurship. I am your host, Angela Mashuli, and I am thrilled to have you here with us today for a special episode. I have the privilege of welcoming an incredible guest, Jac White. She is the founder and CEO of Honeybees Group. Jac's journey from corporate to entrepreneurship, her wisdom on business growth, and her insights into balancing motherhood with a thriving business are sure to leave you inspired. So whether you're a seasoned mompreneur or just getting started in your journey, you are in for a treat. Jac's story and advice are bound to empower you, remind you that it's okay to be good enough in both your business and as a mom. So stay tuned as we delve into the world of mompreneurship with Jac White and discover how you too can find success in this beautiful, albeit challenging, balancing act. So without further ado, let's jump into this fantastic conversation. Hi, Jac. Welcome to the podcast. I'm thrilled to continue our conversation that we've had prior to the podcast because I think you're doing special things. We're all just like out there to empower women and moms and business and what they want to do and share their gifts. So welcome and thank you for your time today to talk to me.
I am so excited to talk to you. I love what you're doing with your podcast and with the work that you do. And I think this is a part of what it's all about, is connecting mom business owners together to share and learn and help lift each other up. So thank you so much for giving me and other people a platform.
Absolutely. It's my therapy. That's what I call it. I should call it my therapy. But yes, I can't wait to dive into what you're doing. But first, can you set the stage for us, for listeners, on your background and what you do?
Absolutely. I am the founder and CEO of the Honeybees Group, and I'm also an angel investor. So at Honeybees, we are an advisory business for small business owners, early stage and hyper growth startups. And so we help on strategic planning and growth strategies as it relates to business development, partnerships, anything that really helps propel your business forward. We're your thought partner in that process. And I started out in the corporate world working for big brands like Armani Exchange and the New York Times, and then moved into the startup space, working for several different companies. And what I came to realize is I love small businesses and I love female founders and female entrepreneurs, and I am one myself. And so we started Honeybees to really support that community through one-on-one advising, group learning programs, and soon coming up, more sort of mastermind retreat type opportunities.
Ooh, exciting. I want to hear about that. So you mentioned how you were in this corporate environment and you transitioned to being an entrepreneur. What was that like and what kind of propelled you to do that?
I think I made the transition fairly early in my career. I worked for 3 or 4 big companies. And I always, someone very early gave me the advice to really look, especially early in your career, for places where you can learn and grow and develop skills. less about the title, less about the money. Obviously, you need to make a living, but try to learn as much as you can. And so that's how I always chose the companies and the positions that I took next. And one thing that I loved about startups is I didn't have to stay in my lane because there were no lanes. There was so much to do that it was sort of all hands on deck. And I think that's what small business is too, right? And so I really had the opportunity to sort of stretch and expand and do a lot of different things. And so that's what led me to leave the corporate world and go to the startup world, was just my desire to kind of get my hands in as many things as possible and to be able to really grow with a company from the early stage.
Yeah, I would imagine that like that startup energy is kind of infectious. Like it's so creative and there are no lanes or boundaries. It's just about creating, even though it's within the realm of a business. But that's really exciting. I can imagine kind of being affected the same way.
Yes,
Like the heck with this. I'm gonna go do my own
exactly.
thing.
And that's what all of the founders that I talk to, whether, it's a startup and you're raising venture capital or you're just doing your own business, that early stage is so exciting to me because it's really the messiest, but it's when you have the most opportunity, you're the most enthusiastic. You really like the sky is the limit in terms of what you can do. And I feel like those moments are really precious and you never get them back, right? Those first
Right.
years of starting a company, even though you
Yes.
might look back on it and you're like, oh, that was so hard, or we did so many things
Yes.
wrong. You never get it's just the same as raising your children, right? You never get those first years back, even though they're so hard, they're so precious too. And so I love the early stage part.
Yes, it is very exciting. And, everything, it can be changed and made to fit whatever your kind of goals are or what you want to pursue. And that changes as you go along. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, and that's just so thrilling. It's like if you want to change it, you can. And it's really not that hard. But I would love to talk about what are some of your tips for somebody who wants to start a business? Like, where do they start? And I think it's so critical to start out the right way. Um, you could save yourself a lot of time and hassle and expense. And
Yes, for sure. And certainly, logistics, getting a company set up the legal way, getting your,
right.
tax, all of that stuff, right? There's tons of resources about it. I think some of the things I wish people had told me and the things that I love to like share are a few things that just make a difference, I think, in terms of the success of your business, but also how happy you are building that business. And the first one is to find a support network. Starting a business and growing a business is very isolating and all consuming. And I don't think people realize how lonely it can be to start a business from scratch by yourself, on top of all of the responsibilities that we have at home, right? So, which also can feel kind of isolating. And so, for a lot of people, work is their outlet to socialize and to talk with other people. And so, if you take away that outlet and you're just building a business on yourself, you can find yourself really lonely. And so I always encourage people to find a network of friends, other moms, advisors that you can surround yourself with, because one, it will give you that, right? We're social beings, so it'll give you that social aspect. And when you get stuck along the way, you have this group of people that you can ask help from.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's the second thing that I think is really important, is being able to ask and seek the help you need. It's unrealistic to think that we know how to do every single thing it takes to grow a successful business. And so, really lean into that network or seek support through business coaches or other companies to help you not necessarily do it for you, but really upskill yourself, right? Owning a business is a big educational journey that you're on. And so as the business owner, you need to know enough about everything it takes to operate a business to know if it's working or not. And so seeking help, being constantly learning, I think is really important. And then I think I talk a lot with my clients about goal setting. I think setting realistic goals is super important. It's kind of like when we are trying to work out or get on a budget or, any of those other things, we sort of always go to the extreme and then we end up not meeting the expectation and we feel like failures. Take a real look at what your life is like and be realistic about what you can do in your business in this particular moment. Because you mentioned before, and I think it's completely spot on, is you can always change. Our situation is constantly changing. And so what can you do now? And then as your life changes, what are you capable of doing, a year from now and a year from now? My son is starting kindergarten in September. And so my ability to invest in my business now that he's in school is going to increase. That's not something I could have done, 2 or 3 years ago when I was still the primary caregiver for our son. And so I think being really realistic about where you are. And then the last piece that I also think we don't do enough is to just give yourself grace. I certainly don't practice that enough.
I don't know.
I don't think most.
I mean, we're all guilty of that.
Yes. Show yourself grace. Know that things come up and, be gentle with yourself because this is hard work. This is hard. It's not easy. And, there will be setbacks. So celebrate the wins and, learn from the losses and show yourself grace and keep going.
Yeah. And one of the most important things that I heard you say was, you mentioned happiness. And so many times we create a business that controls us and doesn't serve us. We serve it and it becomes like this monster, where we burn out and we're unhappy. So I think that is just one of the key things, is to know that you deserve to be happy, and how you think about work and your mindset around what do you think, about, do things have to be hard? Do you have to, grovel for every little thing that you do? And, do you think it's really possible to have a business that serves you and you can have a life that you love?
Yeah. And I think
and get paid for something you love.
Exactly. And I think that's where the goal setting and the realistic expectations come into play, because I see a lot of people unhappy because they're setting goals that don't actually make them happy. They think that's what they should be striving for. They're not clear about what it is they're trying to do. And I think social media can play a big negative part in this. We 100%. See people who seem very successful and like they have it all figured out, and we don't feel that way. And so, we start to feel less happy about ourselves. And so I love that you honed in on that, because I do think it's really important to understand what makes us happy and set goals and build businesses that fit that. Right? That's why we're doing this. We're building our own businesses to solve a need that we have, or to build a product that serves something that we see as missing. And so, be honest with yourself, be realistic about what you're trying to do, because the whole point is to be additive to our life, to make ourselves more happy, to be able to support our families. Thank you for pointing it out.
Oh, absolutely. Because, I think regardless of whether you have that in mind or not, we all have a tendency, it's very easy to find yourself in that position. You constantly have to reevaluate what you're doing. Am I doing too much? Do I need to have my assistant do more or whatever? Or and you constantly have to reevaluate what you're doing if you're feeling pressured or stressed or whatnot, because in the end, it's really about longevity. You want a business that lasts, right? You don't, I love this. We talked about starting a business, and it's a lot like I've heard it being compared to clearing a jungle with a machete. You have all of this energy and whatnot. And then you kind of get to this point where you look back and you go, okay, where am I at? What did I just do? And where do I want to go? So I would love to hear then your ideas about how we can strategically grow
Yeah.
our businesses.
Yes. And this is one of the biggest things that we focus on at Honeybees, especially with small businesses, meaning not startups that take on a bunch of venture capital, right? Small businesses that are bootstrapped, that are self-funded. I think this is where partnerships and growth strategies are very important, because you don't have a lot of money to go out and pay influencers, to buy ads, to get a bunch of swag with your logo on it, right? You have to get really scrappy. And through angel investing and being in the startup eco space, I've met so many founders and women entrepreneurs who are brilliant, who have great ideas, who have amazing businesses.
Yeah.
But they don't come from a business development or a sales or a partnerships background. And so this is where the skilling becomes really useful, is because you're totally capable. You just don't have a framework to work with it. And so that's a lot of what we do at Honeybees. We have a boot camp where we bring women through an 8-week training program to help them do their own partnerships. And we focus in 3 key areas. And, there's a whole curriculum, but there's partnerships for growth, business development, and collaborations. And so, I think partnerships can all mean a lot of different things, but I like to focus on partnerships for small business owners, because that can take a lot of different forms and can be really transformative for your business.
Oh, yeah.
It can be very simple to do. When people think about these partnerships or business development, they think big, things. And I always try to bring it down to the basics. And so, back to goal setting, what is it that you're trying to do, right? You have to be really clear about that before you can grow. You have to understand, what are you trying to grow? So do you have a product that you're trying to sell or distribute? Are you a service-based company, right? Or do you have a service that you sell to individuals or to companies? Are you trying to grow your audience? Are you trying to get people onto your platform, or some sort of, are you a blogger or, something like that? So understanding what your goal is. And then the second piece is, what is it that you already do that is valuable to someone else? So and a lot of times people, when they're starting out with partnerships or collaborations, they feel like they need to create something new. And I think that is extra work that nobody has time to do. So what's it that you're currently doing in your business that you can leverage to partner with another company or organization? And so, do you create content? Do you have a product or service that you can offer as a giveaway? And so, what are you trying to do? What do you have to offer? And then who has your target customer that doesn't have what you have to offer? So if there's a company that targets other mom business owners or moms of toddlers, and you make products for toddlers, and this is a content website or, a blogger that blogs about raising toddlers, is there an opportunity to do some sort of sweepstakes, partnership, content swap, right? So that you're getting content to share with your audience that you know has toddlers, and they're maybe getting some products to give away to their audience. And so, there's a complementary opportunity there for where you both get something out of it, but you're not doing anything new or different. You're not creating a different product. You're not all of a sudden becoming a content creator. And so, I really believe that you should start small and start with the things that are easy to do. But then also track it and have a goal in mind to understand, what am I trying to do here? Am I trying to build my email newsletter business? Am I trying to, distribute product in new places? And so, setting goals in the beginning, knowing what you're trying to do, knowing what you currently have to offer, who are the people that would be interested in that offer, and then, tracking it on the back end is a great way to start a partnership process and to start scaling your business.
No, I mean, it's even some of the biggest online personalities or influencers have partnerships with other people, who are just as big as they are. And it's a really brilliant way to, like you said, not recreate the wheel, but maybe you don't need to recreate a course. I know somebody who makes more than 6 figures a year just promoting somebody else's course. They never even had to make a course. So
Yes.
it can really be this way for growth and connection that I think a lot of people think are elusive to them. And I would love to hear your thoughts about, like, what are the misconceptions that you hear about partnerships? Or, I know I love that you have like some materials on just asking for an introduction or that connection, because I think people just don't even know where to start.
Yeah. So in terms of partnerships, I think the biggest places I see people fall down on partnerships is in the beginning and the end. So not setting clear goals about what they want to achieve in the beginning. And so they're not able to track and see the right results at the end, because there are lots of opportunities to partner for two brands or two people or two companies to partner and do really cool things, unlimited opportunity. But if there's no goal, if it's not, driving your business towards growth, which is what we talk about in the beginning, setting goals, then you have nothing to track at the end. And so a lot of times I've seen people and they've like, oh, we've done these 5 things, but there was no strategy around why they did it. And so they don't know what they got out of it. And so that's the biggest place I see people fall down. In terms of asking for introductions, I love making introductions for people.
Oh yeah, me too.
I think that, especially, I don't make introductions for everyone. I only offer it, for people that I feel good introducing to other people. But I think that, and I think everyone should be generous with making introductions for other people for a couple different reasons. One, when I introduce two smart, great people together, I feel like it builds my own credibility and it builds my own trust. And so there's a selfish reason to why I like introductions, is because I become a conduit for other great things to happen. And so even if, so some people are motivated by that. And so if that's you, like think about how to do it. But I also feel like people have been incredibly generous with making introductions for me. And so I feel like the only way you keep that mojo going is by making introductions for other people too. When I'm asking for an introduction, there are a few things that, or asking for an introduction in general, I think there are a few things that make it a lot easier for people to make introductions for you. And the first one is to be really specific. I've had people who are either fundraising or looking to do partnerships, and they send me a Google sheet with 75 names on it. And they say, can you introduce me to any of these people or to these people? And I'm sort of like, I don't have time to cull through 75 names. Like, that's too much work me.
Yes.
Easily look at LinkedIn or look at my Instagram handle and see who I'm connected with. So I think being really like specific and poignant about, who you want an introduction to. And in those situations, what I tend to say is, can you make an introduction to this person? I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z. And so do you know anyone else that could potentially be a fit for this? So maybe they can't make an introduction to the specific person you're asking for, but they know 3 other people that also do what you are trying to connect with. And so you're giving them an opportunity to be helpful, but maybe not in the exact specific way. And so if you have a specific ask in terms of who you want to meet and what you're trying to do, I always think that makes it helpful for the person making an introduction. And then also include a little intro about you and what you're doing that they can just forward on whoever they are making the introduction. Again, make it super easy for someone to make an introduction. And then the other thing that I think is really important is when someone makes an introduction for you, you are now also representing them. And so follow up, show up prepared, be really mindful, because I've also gotten feedback from people I've made intros for that, hey, we had an appointment and they never showed up and they kind of ghosted me or whatever it is. And so now I'm less likely to make an introduction for that person unless there, was like something happens, but don't be flagrant with someone's, personal collateral that they're putting on the line by making an introduction.
Oh yeah. Yes, those are all really good points because I've made introductions too and people have just been radio silent and it's like,
you asked for this. You asked me to do this and I'm doing it.
Yes. Or the person you introduce them to doesn't, it's an honor that somebody wants to introduce you to someone, honestly. So, like you said, there's like this karma attached to it. It's like, you get what you put out there.
And I also don't do blind intros. So if someone, so for instance, if someone said, Jack, can you introduce me to Angela? I would always ask you first if it was okay to make the introduction, because I think that also, I really rarely ever say no. I don't think I've ever said no, I don't want the introduction, but it's really nice to get the heads up that it's coming so I can look at for it, or like, hey, here's the context, here's how I know this person, I think you should connect. So that's another thing that I think is important if you're the one doing the introducing.
Yeah, that's a good point too. I mean, I think too, one of the things that I think people don't understand is the amount of opportunity that exists. They're really think small when it comes to all of the opportunity. So have you had this experience where you kind of introduce them to the possibilities with partnerships and they're just kind of blown away by that?
Yes, absolutely. And I think, the sky is the limit in terms of partnerships. And I think being really disciplined and understanding your capabilities and your bandwidth is important. But I think you can scale a business, especially in the early stages when you don't have money, or in at any point. But
sure,
partnerships, strategic partnerships, business development agreements, or maybe, like your friend who, was making 6 figures by promoting someone else's course. That was a business development strategic partnership, right? An affiliate. You can make money and grow your business in a very significant way doing those types of deals. Those deals don't come necessarily right off the bat. You work up to them, but 1,000%, I think, advertising is great. Paid sponsorships are great, but there is a lot that you can do cheap and scrappy and effective as a small business owner.
And I think that that's another way to promote just finding a community, because you can have such tunnel vision when you're a business owner, like you were talking about how isolating it is, and you can just get really stuck in your own head and your own thoughts, and you need people who can see much further than you can.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and
And
those people exist.
they absolutely do. And also having that community gives you a pool to do
Mm-hmm.
partnerships with those people and
Mm-hmm.
gives you a pool to ask for introductions. If you just take
Mm-hmm.
a list of, you know, as a way to start, create a list of everyone you know
Yeah.
that is in the same space that you're in. And then
Mm-hmm.
create a list of 3 or 5 people that they know that can be
Mm-hmm.
beneficial to your list. And you
Mm-hmm.
probably 100 to 250 people that you can
Mm-hmm.
talk to about,
Mm-hmm.
that you can ask questions when you need help, that you can talk to about a partnership opportunity, that you
Mm-hmm.
can leverage in some way to help your business. And this is
Mm-hmm.
what I think being, asking for help and being really thoughtful in sort
Mm-hmm.
of ask and what you need
Mm-hmm.
and what you can give in return, right? You
Mm-hmm.
always want to be of service to other people. I think
Mm-hmm.
I think women naturally are willing to help each other,
Mm-hmm.
but find it really hard to ask for help. So it's a super
Oh, yes.
tough place. So once
Mm-hmm.
you get over asking for the help, asking for the introduction,
Mm-hmm.
I find that we make magic happen together.
Yes. So we could do a whole podcast episode on women learning to ask for help and ask for what they need. And but that is a recurring theme on this podcast
Mhm. Yes, I
for
know.
sure. So one of the interesting things that you also help your clients with is email marketing and emails, which I have to tell you, it is like it's it's something that I have not conquered yet. And I will just be honest about that. There is like this thought that somebody does not want to receive an email from me.
That's that's one, not true, and two, a very common thought. Yeah.
Is it? That's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Absolutely.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. I think it's the self-doubt that creeps in,
Hmm.
especially as someone whose brand is themselves. I think
Hmm.
it is a lot harder to get over that sort of
Oh,
imposter
yeah.
syndrome
Hmm.
than if it's coming from a brand. But I am
Hmm.
all in on email. I am
Hmm.
very bullish on email. And I think
Hmm.
as for personal reasons and for business, especially in
Hmm.
business,
Hmm.
there's a ton of people that will tell you to grow your Instagram followers,
Oh,
create a
yeah.
Facebook group, all of this stuff.
Hmm.
You don't actually own those relationships. The only
Right.
relationships you own is if you have a telephone number or you have an
Hmm.
email address. And
Hmm.
so I think everyone should be really focused on honing their email strategy. It's not expensive. It's
Hmm.
incredibly effective when used the right way. It's incredibly effective.
Hmm. Hmm.
And you can leverage it in partnerships for sales, for awareness building. And so I
Hmm.
really encourage everyone, yes, grow Instagram. Yes, do a Facebook group. Yes,
Yeah.
whatever it is you want to do, but really pay special attention to growing your email newsletter list because all of that other stuff can go away and you're
Hmm.
left actually with not the base that you think you have.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just heard somebody talk about this week how their Facebook account was hacked and they lost access for a month, but they still had their email list and had other marketing avenues, and that saved them.
No, it's true. It's very true. It's really true. And I think there's trends, right? I worked at
Hmm.
Daily Candy, which I don't know, that
Yeah.
was
Hmm.
the very first email newsletter
Hmm.
publication. And I'm still bullish on email. So I'm very bullish on email. And I think that
Hmm.
we should all be focused on growing our email newsletters
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
thinking about what that um, sales funnel looks like, what that brand building looks like from an email
Mm-hmm.
strategy.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any like quick tips? I'm asking for a friend
Yeah.
on, how we can approach it and just not have so much fear around it, or what are our misconceptions? I guess I'm just, because I do get questions about it, and I just, it's still one of those things for me that's
Yeah.
a mental block, I think.
On email strategy.
Yeah.
So I think um, it depends on the type of business that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And it
True.
depends on what your goal is.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there are some basic principles that exist across the board.
Okay.
And like in anything, the first one is to provide value. And so the
Mm-hmm.
goal of email, no matter what you're trying to do, is to build a deeper connection and drive
Mm-hmm.
sales.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in order to first build that deeper connection, you need
Mm-hmm.
to provide value. And so, whatever
Mm-hmm.
you do as a business, think about who the person is that's receiving this email.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what is it that they expect to get from you in terms of
Mm-hmm.
messaging? And what
Mm-hmm.
value can you provide for them?
Mm-hmm.
So, if you are a service-based company, what
Mm-hmm.
tips can you provide? And you
Mm-hmm.
might feel like, oh, everyone knows this. This is not,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
everyone doesn't know this.
Right.
No one knows what you know. Nobody has
Mm-hmm.
the perspective and the sensibility that you have.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why they're coming to you. This is why they're signing up for your
Mm-hmm.
newsletter. This is why they're hiring you in the first place. And so what
Mm-hmm.
can you do to build a deeper connection to this potential or current client of yours? So
Mm-hmm.
that's number one. And then number two is, how do you sell them in a way that feels good to you and feels good to them? And so, what
Mm-hmm.
offer do you have? How are you positioning your
Mm-hmm.
product and your offer um, in a way that doesn't feel spammy, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
nobody wants to be shouted at.
Right.
So I think if you can start there, and again,
Mm-hmm.
everything in business and in life is a progression. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think we also fall into this trap of feeling like we need to go from 0 to 100 right out
Mm-hmm.
of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's partnerships or email marketing, start. Just
Mm-hmm.
start. Be
Mm-hmm.
thoughtful, set goals,
Mm-hmm.
track it, but start.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll get better and get more comfortable, right? And so if you
Mm-hmm.
can commit to sending one email a month,
Mm-hmm.
low fruit,
Mm-hmm.
right? Low
Mm-hmm.
hanging fruit, something you can commit to,
Mm-hmm.
make it provide value
Mm-hmm.
and have an offer. And then
Mm-hmm.
get comfortable with that and build
Right.
up. And you can do like a little alert once in a while if something very
Mm-hmm.
relevant is happening, or you're doing a sale on your product that you offer.
Mm-hmm.
But get started, because that, I
Mm-hmm.
think, right, the first step is
Yeah.
always the hardest.
Right. I think it just applies to so much in business and in life. Just get started. And,
Get started.
the perfectionism has a tendency of creeping
Absolutely.
in. And
Me also, for all of us.
right. Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's like, oh, I don't know how people are gonna take this. And
And I think mompreneurs tend to be type A in
hmm
general, right?
Sure.
Because we have a million things going on and we're
Hmm
driven to start our own businesses.
Right.
That's a type A personality. And so
hmm
perfection
hmm
is important to us.
hmm
Getting it right is important, but that's
hmm
also the killer of
hmm
getting things out the door oftentimes.
Oh, absolutely. It so is. Um, so I would love to hear about too, how has all of this affected you as a mom?
Yeah.
And, you mentioned we have a lot going on. So I love to hear about a mom's experience becoming an entrepreneur. I think you were an entrepreneur first, and then you had the blessing of becoming a mom. And then, it is such an opportunity for personal growth and development. So I love to hear about that.
Yeah. My husband and I just celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary this past spring. And and we it took a long time for us to get our son here. It was not an easy road for us like it is for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I was an entrepreneur before we had my son. And I feel really lucky in the fact that when he was born, I took a year off from work and just got to stay home with him, which was a conscious decision that we made and was such a blessing for all of us. It's the best gift I could have given myself. And so when I was thinking about going back into the workspace, I considered going to another early stage company and going in-house and helping to, scale another business. And I love that. There were two things that were happening. Is one was still COVID. And so things were like wonky in every single way you can think
right.
about.
Especially in New York.
Especially in New York.
Yeah.
And two, like so many of us that start businesses, I wanted something that was going to fit in my life and fit for the life I wanted to create for myself and for my family. So I started an advisory business, and what I didn't expect that I have grown to just love and appreciate is my ability to impact business is greater doing what I'm doing now than it was when I was working for one company in-house. I get to work with so many different founders and businesses now and help them grow their companies. And that is incredibly fulfilling for me. It's so difficult doing that with a busy life and a young toddler who is completely independent and has his own mind on when I should be working and when I should be with him.
Probably won't change.
Yeah, I don't think it will change. I hope it never changes.
As a mom to a 16-year-old, that probably won't change.
But I love the flexibility of getting to, decide when I work, getting up really early so that I can be with him and be present when he wakes up and he's getting ready for his day. Then I have a stretch of work in the morning and the afternoon, and then we get our family time. And so when he's done with school, that's our time in the afternoon. And then after he goes to bed, if I have some catching up to do, right? Getting to set my own schedule. And I think that's a big reason why a lot of us start our own companies is because this traditional work, situation 9 to 5, it's not working for us.
It wasn't really designed to work for women.
Yeah, exactly. And so I love that we are setting our own pace and making business work in a way that works for us. I think, we also have to recognize that's coming from a place of privilege and not everyone has the capabilities or the resources to do that. And so I feel incredibly grateful that I get to do the work that I do. But I get such tremendous satisfaction in helping other women grow their businesses that I truly believe it makes me a better mother, a better wife, a happier person, because I'm really fulfilled in what I do. It's not always easy. It's not always fun. I definitely have my setbacks.
Neither is working for somebody else.
Exactly. But it's fulfilling and it's meaningful. And I love that my son and my nieces, when they come to visit, get to see me working. Most children don't get to see their parents working. They just go off and then they come back home. And so I think that's also a gift that a lot of us are working from home, especially coming out of COVID or starting a business. I think it's a real benefit that our daughters and our children, our sons get to see their moms doing
Right.
things and working and building businesses. What a great example to set for our
Right.
children.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's totally, and that's something that kind of came with COVID too, is that people started to understand, oh, we can work remotely, we can have families and get the job done, and we can kind of have work-life integration, and they don't have to be completely separate all the time. It's,
I think that's one of the very few blessings that came from COVID
hmm hmm
is in all work environments, we saw
hmm
each other as
hmm
whole people, real human
hmm
beings that were balancing home life and work life in a way we've never had to do before.
hmm
I hope we're not so far removed from that, but I hope that
hmm
stays with us for a long, long time.
Yeah, I think it is because, a lot of employers are wanting to bring people back to the office, and a lot of people are just saying, no,
Yep, I'm good. Thank
I
you.
made the hard change and I kind of like this. So, and I had worked for years at home prior to the pandemic, and everybody was freaking out. And I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's great. Uh, well, I feel like I could talk to you forever and just go on and on. I mean, it's like when you get mom entrepreneurs or female entrepreneurs together, they're like bees in a hive. So I love
It's
the
true.
name of your business because that's what it reminds me of. We just like want to collaborate and work together. And um, but if you wanted somebody to take away any message from this conversation, what would that be?
I think I think it's to there's so this is really hard.
Hmm,
Starting a business, growing your
yeah.
business while you're a mom is tough work.
Mhm.
Um, but you can do it and you can
Right.
thrive at it. And you
Right.
need to build the right network and get the right
Mhm.
support in place.
Right.
And
100%.
and you can do whatever it is you want to do. You can
Mhm.
build the life that you want to live. And
Mhm.
I fully believe that. I think I'm the eternal
Yeah.
optimistic in that way.
Oh.
Tragedy happens, setbacks
Mhm.
happens, but wins happen too. And like celebrate the wins and
Mhm.
learn from the setbacks. But
Mhm.
find your tribe
Mhm.
and build the life that you want to live. And I think you can. And that's what we're
Mhm.
doing at Honeybees is helping people do that and building a
Right.
community of women that are doing
Mhm.
it.
Right. And I think I have talked to moms, and I think for me too, the fulfillment piece that you talked about is just so surprising because you just cannot, that's what keeps us going. And honestly, what truly makes it worth it, not the money, not, the flexibility is great and everything else, but you just find, if you're lucky, if you approach it the right way, if you find your tribe and you really, hone in on what it is that you want to do and accomplish, you can have this level of fulfillment that is just really indescribable. It's, we are not taught that this is possible or exists, but it truly does. So I love that. And if anybody needs permission to take that step, we're not going to sell the lie that it's easy, of course, but like I said, neither is try. So how is working for somebody else working out?
Right. And nothing that is very rewarding and fulfilling is easy. Like it takes work
Oh
at
yeah,
anything worth having.
right. No,
So
and that's a true statement about anything for
yeah.
sure. No, it is hard, but it gets easier. It's really hard in the beginning and you feel like you're walking in the dark, but there is this clearing, there is this light. You go, oh, okay, I get this, but you're constantly learning. But that's just such an amazing thing too about being a business owner is like if you love learning and you're just constantly curious and want to connect and um yeah, it's just this amazing experience that can help you level up in your who you are, but also just make these connections and do things you never thought was possible. So
You agree.
I think that that's so special. So where can listeners connect with you?
Yes. So you can always find us at honeybeesgroup.co. You
Mhm.
can also connect with me directly on LinkedIn. Send me
Mhm.
a message and let me know that you heard this podcast. I love
Yeah.
setting up 15-minute intro calls with
Mhm.
people and just learning about their business.
Mhm.
And so those are the two places that it's best to find me, our website and LinkedIn. And then we have a free downloadable deal filter that helps walk people through, the things that we talked about, the goals, what you have to offer, and the types of companies that you want to work with. And so if you
Mhm.
reach out to us on either our website or LinkedIn, we'll be sure to
Mhm.
send off to you so that you can kind of take a look and get started on partnerships for your business.
Mhm. I love that. And, it's so important too. I loved how you mentioned, you know, not only reaching out to somebody, but seeing who they're connected with. I love following somebody new on social media and seeing who they follow.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
Me
that's where the
too.
gold is. Like, who do they find interesting? And maybe I should be following them. And maybe, so I love that. And I love that you're making those connections. And I'm so happy we connected. It's so amazing. I mean, the women I get to talk to, it's like incredible. So it fills me up. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing what you're doing.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate, like I said, I appreciate women that are lifting up other women. And so you've created an amazing platform for women
Thank
to
you.
share and learn. And that's what it's all about. So thank you.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's an honor. I tell people like I feel like I didn't even have a choice. Like if I said no, I'm not going to do that podcast, something would just like sit me in this chair and it would happen some way or another. So I'm an amplifier for greatness. So I mean, that's like what's cooler than that?
Not much.
Awesome. It's wonderful talking to you. And I'll leave all your contact information in the show notes where people can connect with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. What an incredible conversation. Thank you so much to Jac for sharing your journey, insights, and wisdom with us today. I feel so honored to have a platform and to have listeners who want to hear these important conversations. And Jac's story is a testament to the power of determination, resilience, and embracing the good enough approach in both motherhood and entrepreneurship. If you would like to know more about Jac, reach out to her. I will leave her contact information in the show notes, but you can also reach out to her at honeybeesgroup.com. So, to all our listeners, if you found this episode inspiring and informative, please be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Also, rate and leave us a review. Your feedback and support means the world to us. We'll be back soon with more amazing stories and advice from remarkable mompreneurs just like Jac. Until then, keep believing in yourself and your dreams. Remember, you are more than good enough. A big thank you to our guest, Jac White, and to all of you for tuning in. This is Angela Mashuli signing off from the Good Enough Mompreneur Podcast. Until next time, take care, keep thriving, and keep being an incredible mompreneur. Bye.